Social activist Faith Bandler has died at the age of 96. She was best known for her leadership in the campaign for the 1967 referendum, recognising Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as Australian. Crossing the boundaries of race and class, she gained the confidence of white Australians and forged a turning point in the nation's history. Deborah Rice looks back on the life of Faith Bandler, and a warning for viewers: this story contains images of some Indigenous people who have died.
Faith Bandler was one of Australia's best-known activists for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander rights, but she wasn't Indigenous herself. Her mother had Scottish and Indian heritage. Her father was kidnapped from an island of Vanuatu to labour in the Queensland cane fields, then had to fight deportation decades later.
Well, you know, we had politics as children for breakfast.
Born Ida Lessing Faith Mussing, she grew up on a farm on the New South Wales North Coast and served in the Women's Land Army during World War II, when she realised that although the land girls were underpaid, the Aboriginal farm workers were even worse off.
I recall an Aboriginal woman coming and saying to me, "You're not free if we're not free."
Faith Bandler co-founded the Aboriginal Australian Fellowship with Pearl Gibbs and the Federal Council for the Advancement of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and took up the cause when feminist Jessie Street drafted a petition for a federal referendum to amend the Constitution so Indigenous people could be recognised as Australian citizens.
And she put it in my hand and she said, "Well, will you go off and get that referendum now?"
As the well-spoken middle-class wife of a Jewish engineer, Faith Bandler was able to cross Australia's social boundaries. She addressed hundreds of meetings at churches, schools, clubs, trade unions and local councils.
Yes, in the bottom square.
After 10 years of lobbying and petitions, the referendum was held by the Holt government.
The referendum is on Saturday, and it's important that we should have the maximum vote because the eyes of the world are on Australia.
It was passed in all 6 states, with the highest yes vote ever recorded in an Australian referendum.
Good results were coming in from country towns where the prejudice had always been most prevalent.
By the 1970s, the focus of Indigenous Australians turned to asserting a right to cultural difference, and as she was non-Indigenous, Faith Bandler was voted off the council. She turned to writing books and maintained an active political life, helping establish the Women's Electoral Lobby, the Australian South Sea Islanders National Council and the Australian Republican Movement. She took up Indigenous issues again to speak out against the policies of Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party and John Howard's government. In 2009, Faith Bandler was appointed a Companion in the Order of Australia.
Your life stands as a source of courage and inspiration.
It was just one of many times she was recognised for her own faith in social activism. Deborah Rice, ABC News.